you. Welcome to the festival.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I just saw Cardinal X yesterday.
Great.
Loved it. I thought it was amazing.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Part of what helps is a good '80s soundtrack.
Yes.
Was that hard to get, or?
Yes, it was. It was hard to get, but I think the beautiful part about filmmaking is that it's a collaborative effort, and I feel like when you find people who kind of resonate with your vision, that they'll do a lot for you. Like MC Light came in and screened the movie and gave me some music, and Moby donated music.
Oh, wow.
So I was really lucky. I was really lucky.
I just listening to it, going, wow, this must have been a really expensive process.
How did she fucking get that song? I know. I heard Rick Ocasek watched the threesome scene many times in order to make up his mind.
Well, that must have worked then. Well, tell us about Cardinal X.
So Cardinal X is a movie that is largely inspired by my own experiences. It's about a damaged Asian American girl, kind of from the wrong side of the tracks, who manages to parlay her way into a very prestigious West Coast university. She's smart, she's pre-med, but her demons kind of grab a hold of her, and she feels very less than, and she's terrified that she's going to have to go back to her meager beginnings from Newark, New Jersey, and she decides she's going to break into organic chemistry lab and synthesize her own 3,4-methyldioxymethylamphetamine, or MDMA, or ecstasy, and she becomes a big ecstasy dealer on the West Coast.
And this is a true story?
It is largely autobiographical.
Okay, and I assume of your autobiography.
Yes.
So, I guess the for me, watching the events that happened, there's a point in which I kind of look down the future and say, what point for you were you able to kind of come to grips with your story well enough to be able to tell it in film form?
Like 100 years of therapy.
I'd imagine that much.
I think, it's been 30 years since that era, so, I'm old. I had a daughter in that time frame. I think a lot of your stuff comes home to roost when you have a child. It's one thing to experience, certain feelings yourself of maybe shame or isolation, but when you see your daughter going through that, you feel like you really have to do something about it.
As to not repeat the past, but to...
Yeah, and to help her. I feel like as parents, there's a fine line between honesty and guidance, you know what I mean? But I do think that our kids can learn from our experiences if we're honest about it, and we teach them the tools to be resilient and get back up and move forward. So I would say that, and my therapist helped me to kind of get to a point where I thought, I think I'm going to tell this story. And, I also founded a nonprofit and do work with at-risk middle school kids. We basically do like a process group where, they're able to talk about the very real challenges that they face on a daily basis, like a mom in jail, or, a father who got shot and killed, or a brother who's strung out. And I felt that at first it was very taboo. Like, those kids were like, we're not telling you shit. Like, I'm not fucking talking about that. But I felt that when I was open about my story and just sort of owned everything in a sort of matter-of-fact way, that it gave them permission to explore their own demons and to tell their own stories.
Yeah, I live in Orange County, and there's certain sections of Orange County where, the kids are just, there's not a lot of hope.
Yes.
And it usually starts at that middle school, high school era
Yeah.
or age. And they don't see beyond graduation.
No, they don't. Your frontal lobe hasn't even engaged at that age, you know what I mean? But I think if you add trauma to it, it's very hard to break past that, and you really need to. And we don't, as a society, explicitly give the kids the tools that they need. So I think it's important for adults to, especially. I feel like I'm really lucky to be here and to live the life that I have. So I feel a very persistent call to give back, and this is my way to do it.
Mm-hmm. So are you a filmmaker by trade, or?
Now I am. I found that I loved it. Who knew? I was a middle-aged woman who was like, I think you're going to make a movie. And my friends were like, that shit, girl. Like, you don't know how to fucking make a movie. And I was like, I'm going to learn how. And I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the process completely.
So was there a book or a story beforehand, or did you just kind of dive into tell your story on film?
Jumped into it.
So what were some of the challenges you faced in
Oh my goodness. I didn't know anything about filmmaking. I really had to start from the very beginning. I had to have the humility of a beginner, and just sort of, I think I took a class, an extension class at UCLA, and then I was like, I'm not trying to be like a middle-aged D girl, so this is not for me. And then I took a screenwriting course just to sort of understand structure a little. And then I thought, I think I'm just going to write my own screenplay. So I sat down and kind of banged that out. And, each step each step is fraught with challenges and obstacles. So, the best way for me to deal with that is just put my head down, do the work, understand the challenges as they come up, and, figure out, be creative in terms of moving around them.
Yeah, and so what was the motivator just to push you? I'm kind of in the same situation where I'm middle-aged and wanting to create. And realizing, well, age is not going to be my ally here.
In some ways it is, right? Because we're not kids.
There's a little wisdom we have.
Yes, and life
time.
experience. Like I came from the Valley, so I understood. Certain business aspects I understood. Maybe more in a better way than some youngster who didn't have really much a real life experience. So I feel like, I'm a grown-ass woman. I know how to speak with people. I know how to motivate them. And that's a lot of it. That's a lot of it is being able to communicate your vision and get people on board, because film is a very collaborative, effort. And so you got to rally the troops.
So when was the moment that basically told you, wow, this is really going to get made, or this is really going to get done?
Well, there were several moments, it can also be a very demoralizing process. So literally, I still vacillate between being like, one day when I win awards, I'll have to thank this person, and being like, I can't get out of bed. Why would I do something like this? For me, I think I was watching the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie, and I was brought up on Star Trek. I'm a total Trekkie. I loved the movie. And I remember, just for whatever reason, my whole body started shaking, and I was like, I'm going to make a movie. I'm going to make a movie. I'm going to make a movie. So, along the way, during the process, they're always, you're full of self-doubt. So you just have to sort of face the self-doubt in the eye and kick the door down and move forward.
Yeah. And it's amazing how Star Trek encompasses or really inspires and motivates a lot of us.
It's true. Well, it's about humanity, I mean, it's about space travel and green bitches, but it's also about humanity, at the end of the day.
And the positive light that,
Yes.
It's like you can get things done.
Yes.
There is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
So, what was it like finding your cast? Pulling that together?
Yeah, it's a long process. My casting director, Shayna Landsberg, called it out, and initially, people were like, it's kind of a racy script, and we don't want our people to do nudity, and she's a first-time director, but we started to get some buzz, and we found that the role really resonated with a lot of the actresses, and there was a little, it was pretty competitive. So I read every Asian actress up and down the eastern and western seaboard, and Annie Q reached out to me directly. I mean, a lot of this process was about defying convention. You're not supposed to reach out to the director.
Yeah.
But she wrote me this beautiful email, and she talked about how she really connected with the script and how she wanted to read for me. She flew herself out on her own dime to read for me. She was the very first person who I read in the room for the role. And initially I was like, she's too young. She's like 85 pounds. She's tiny. I'm like, I just never viewed myself as that young. But then I realized, while I was sitting at the dinner table across from my daughter then and my stepdaughter, who were teenagers, I was like, this character is really more their peer than Hollywood college age, So I guess I really was that young at one point. When you're 18, you're still kind of a baby. So at that point, I was like, it's definitely Annie Q.
Yeah.
And Francesca just blew me away with her star quality, with her drive, with her willingness to really kind of do the work that it takes to get to a very raw emotional state.
I mean, when I was watching it, one is seeing Annie, I was like, wow, she's acting like a real person, like a real Asian American.
Yeah.
And not an actress who is quote unquote white.
Yeah.
But it was like, wow, okay, this feels real.
I wanted it to be authentic. I wanted everything from the chemistry between the girls to, the plastic stuff in Tommy's house on the furniture. I wanted it to be real. I wanted to really bring you into sort of the Asian American experience, bring you into, a Chinese American home. We eat duck at Christmas time, and I think, Annie, because she is Chinese American, really kind of got that at a very visceral level.
Yeah, and then there's, in a film like this, like I mentioned before, there's a level of insight that really has to be there, especially for I forget Francesca's character's name.
Janine.
Janine, yeah,
Yeah.
but the binging and the purging.
Yes.
It's like, that's what was happening in the 80s.
Yeah.
Today. But,
Unfortunately, it still happens now.
Yeah.
I think food is a way to self-medicate.
yeah. Okay. Let's see. So what is your next step in storytelling?
Oh, so I'm working on a couple of projects that I'm really excited about. The first is sort of a gritty New York indie, New York cop indie called Blue Blooded. I'd love Ron Yuan, who played my dad, to play lead one. So it's told through the lens of an Asian American cop on the streets. And, I'm so fed up with opening my news feed and seeing that yet another kid of color has been shot dead. And we kind of just don't give a shit anymore. We're kind of like, yeah, another kid dead. I think we really need to examine what conspires to make that okay for us. And so it's a pretty deep dive into it's told from both the perspective of the cop and from the kid who ultimately gets shot. So I think that'll be a really interesting exercise. And then I have another, like a TV series that I'm developing called Madam Mommy, and it's about a woman who lives in sort of like a Stepford-like, very idyllic suburb. She thinks she's doing right by her kid, but she's, pretty unfulfilled. On paper, everything looks perfect. Her daughter falls prey to suicidal ideation. She's very anxious. She's depressed. So it prompts this big exodus. So half of the story is, the young girl getting help and learning the tools of resilience, and then her mother deciding, I think I'm going to become a madam and run a prostitution ring in order to fund all this. So it should be fun.
Yeah, and you're on the long haul for these
Yes.
right now.
Yes.
All right, and then so let's see. So where does Cardinal X go from here?
So Cardinal X plays here at the LA Asian Pacific Film Festival, and then we go to New York and we play the New York City Indie Film Festival. We've got a couple of festivals who've reached out to me who seem to be interested, and then hopefully we'll have a theatrical run and go to VOD.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks a lot.
Thank you
It was
so
a
much.
Fantastic movie.
It was a pleasure. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it.